We're in the air, plane is made out of dried shit paper, and CEO is like, what are we doing about AI? Wrong here, wrong here, wrong here. Why are you doing this? As Elon Musk said, it's like staring into abyss and chewing glass. Instead of year, it can be done in 4 weeks. To do crazy shit, the next 3 years, everything is gonna change. It's amazing time we're living in.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Deconstructed VC. Nick, Marina, we're co-founders of Davidov's Venture Capital, a community of 100 engineers and founders investing in early stage startups. And this show is about deconstructing businesses, trying to understand how they build, what they consist of, and how founders build them. Today we have Alex, the founder of Zero Systems. We were lucky to become investors recently. That's not the first round of funding. This is third round of funding for the company. And the company is doing pretty well, guys. So today we want to learn, how can we learn from you? We want to, first of all, ask you to tell the story. How did you come up with an idea? How did you decide to start this business?
First of all, thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure and honor. Happy to tell the story of Zero Systems, how we started and where we are right now and where we're going. And there are a lot of pitfalls and ups and downs like every startup has. It's normal, so people should know it's no bed of roses. It's always, as Elon Musk said, it's like staring into abyss and chewing glass. People have to be comfortable chewing glass in the morning instead of a breakfast. So that's how it feels. Zero started about 8 years ago. With an idea. My co-founder and I had an idea of summarizing long texts into short consumable form. It sounds easy right now, post LLM era, right? Like what can be easier is throw in text into LLM and make a summary or extract the actionable items. But 8 years ago, pre-LLM, it was a lot of work done. And we've been a very small team for a pretty long time, just doing that research and trying to figure out how to build something that never existed before. Because there were so many teams in big institutions and in universities and in big companies as well, like Microsoft and Google, trying to address the same problem. And they failed. Like, how can you guys in a garage, like 4 of you, address the same problem? And we decided to do it from a different angle. Instead of doing the generalization of like, we can summarize everything for everyone, we decided to go vertical by vertical and try to summarize and build models to summarize specific parts of the text. Because context is important to make sure that you provide the highest possible quality. And that's how we started building models of ours.
So by we, who do you mean?
So myself and my co-founder Gevorg, and I keep saying he's the smart, I'm the beautiful, and that's how we work. And Gevorg's previous experience was actually in cancer image detection, skin cancer image detection. A lot of experience in that, and it was pre-LLM, and a lot of stuff has been done on medical devices. And when we started the company, he said, you know what? We're not going to be using cloud. It was very untraditional at that moment. Everyone was in the cloud and still are. Like, we don't want to spend a lot of money on cloud processing. Let's do it on device. Let's use clients and users' own devices, edge computing basically, to build the models. It was basically adding a next level of complexity because it was hard to build a model to summarize things and extract actionable items from long form. But building it so it can run on devices, on edge computing devices, was next level of nuts, as some of the investors were telling us when we were explaining what we were doing. But actually paid off amazingly well. So Gevorg Karapitan, my co-founder and CTO, and myself, and a small group of people, we embarked on that journey. And during those years, the idea stayed the same. But the product line and the technology around it evolved into much, much more.
So going back, so you say a small group of people. When did you hire your first employee?
I think it was probably around 3 months into the journey when we realized.
So what was the first vertical you picked?
So actually, first vertical was not the industry vertical, it was a vertical of content. So we decided to summarize long forms of email.
Okay.
And we needed user reinforcement learning, people voting up and down. That's the big problem for every
I
AI
don't
company.
think that was how you solved the problem. I think you just kill people who write long emails.
That was a plan B for us.
Okay.
Luckily, we didn't go that path. But initially, we wanted to make sure that the email is summarized and people either satisfied with the form or not, and they wanted them vote up or down. And we couldn't figure out how to do that. And then was an idea, how about we build a small AI application, like triage type of application. So all the emails coming in, we summarize it, extract the actionable items so people can understand, and they swipe left or right, like Tinder style. But if they swipe right, the email is deleted. If they swipe left, the email is kept in the inbox for extra.
That's a pretty cool idea.
And paid off nicely. So people loved it. We got, in a matter of probably 3-4 months, we got to 100,000 users, active users. People went crazy about it. It was a mobile email application. And remember, those models were working on a mobile device. And it was still Apple's chips that were able to process.
That's like 2017.
Yeah, it was 2016, 17.
Okay.
So
Did they pay for it?
no, it was free because we needed this community to actually reinforce the models, to train the models. But at some point we realized that the model works and works pretty nicely. And at that moment, we realized now we need to monetize it. So we had a minimal viable model, not the product yet, but the model. It worked. And we started looking into industries. And not just looking into industries, what industry would buy a product like this or will embed it into their process, but what industry will serve as a beachhead market. Because you don't want to stick with this, it's a dilemma. You want to focus on a small enough industry, like a beachhead market, so you can win it all and you don't have competitors to rub shoulders with. But on the other hand, you want to have that beachhead as a jumpstart, leapfrog to much bigger market later. That's probably the biggest dilemma every startup can face. And we found that industry actually was, again, very counterintuitive. Remember I was telling you before, VCs were like, oh, that's nuts. And when we're coming back to them and saying, hey, we want to do that inside legal market, like for largest law firms in the world, they were paused and then saying, that's the next level of nuts. So it was literally counterintuitive because law firms, they are very conservative. They don't buy anything that is not close to 100% polished. Tried to sell something speaking with a Russian accent in 2018-19, especially AI-related email management system. Good luck. But there were some...
We need your data. It is going to be safe with us.
Exactly.
Right here in my pocket.
Almost this way. But there were also incredible parameters of that market that were overshadowing everything else. So number one, no one was stupid and brave enough to actually even try. So there were no competitors, literally. You just go in and everyone was scared of the market. So it was blue ocean, full of sharks, of course, because that's what it is, but it was a blue ocean. So you can focus on making the product better, serving your clients better, instead of competition and lowering the price. So we immediately put the price like probably 5 times that we can do with any other market, and it paid off.
That is super interesting.
But there is interesting component, the final one, data. Because we realized that to go to other verticals, we needed data. And legal, it's a serviceable market. They work with contracts, emails, everything, communications, and they serve every other industry. And that's what typically is being talked about right now as a data moat. You can get access to the beautiful data, you can train better models, and it's like a flywheel. You get better products, better models, and it goes up. That was the reason we went there. And it paid off.
How did you decide on the pricing model? Like, so I think it's a very interesting detail that you were able to charge more. How did you get brave enough to, suggest bigger prices, and how did you set on a number?
There are so many techniques how to do that. We found the wrong one, but it worked. You basically set up the price as high as possible and see if the client's kicking you out of the boardroom. If they are, you're too high, and you just go down until they're like, okay, let's talk about it.
Okay.
So then you see like what the sweet spot is, but also it's about the value, of course, the ROI. A lot of products, and I've seen that in other industries as well, a lot of products, they undervalue themselves by not delivering, like not explaining what the ROI is and not helping clients to see the ROI on the first day. So for 3 years, our main slogan, like main motto, when we were talking to clients, was not about the product, was not about the features, was not about what we're doing. You know what it was? ROI on the next day. Mm-hmm. If you are an enterprise client and someone like a startup comes to you and saying, we'll talk about the product, we'll talk about everything, we want to show you that there is an ROI next day since you buy the product, once you buy the product, that immediately sparks your interest. And they're like, okay, how you do that? Because enterprise clients, they know that it takes 6 months to deploy and like 4 months to buy, or maybe 8 months to buy. And it's like ROI somewhere down the road. But if you tell them, it is here, it's right away, like here, that makes them interested.
How much did you charge on average per contract, if you remember?
Oh, of course. So, and the pricing didn't change since then. It's basically the same. We typically charge, and if we talk about the large enterprises, we charge per application. Right now, we started with 1. Now we have 8. It's basically an app store or app center of generative AI applications. It's a different story. We'll talk about that, but it's about $300,000 a year. But here is an interesting thing, because unlike other AI companies that has to run their own servers or pay arm and leg to Microsoft, AWS, NVIDIA, remember what we talked about? Our solutions work inside security pyramid of the clients. We don't have any cost to support it.
They pay their own electric bills.
Exactly. Our margins are 95% plus and scalable because that's on the client side.
How fine are you talking about 95% profit margin while your clients are listening to this?
Absolutely fine. Because remember, it's ROI on the second day.
Yes. That is true. How much money do they save?
So we have one client in the insurance industry. They actually saving $3 billion a year. Do you care you're paying us $300,000 a year if you save $3 billion?
I think we can, like, I would pay you 30 mil for $3 billion.
No, you will not, actually. You know why? Because that type of clients, they have their own IT, they have their own engineers. The IT budget is $1 billion a year, and they have 5,000 people in IT. If the price is more than they feel reasonable to build themselves, trust me, they'll buy a company or they build it themselves. It's important to actually scale internally rather than try to charge for one thing but on an enormous amount of price tag. It doesn't work this way. It's not flexible. We were always building a pretty long-term strategy, like literally long-term. We knew that something new might appear, but we needed to have like 5 years plan in where we want to go. It was not very detailed. You can't look beyond the horizon. 5 years for startups, it's eternity, right? But we were building big, like large brush strokes where we want to get. And at some point we realized that if we want to have a second application and the third and the fourth, and we want it to be basically an app center, there was no generative AI name for that yet, but our models were basically large language models starting 2019-20. But we realized we need to build our own tools to actually make those applications faster and better and easier. And we preemptively started building the engine. We called it Hercules. And the engine basically is a set of building blocks like Legos, like the Legos you have here in front, big Legos based on which you can assemble a new AI application quickly. And in order to explain how it works, I want to use the historical analogy. If you ask people what sparked the peak of the Industrial Revolution 120 years ago, people will be saying, hey, internal combustion engine, electricity, power steam engine. No, it was precursors. That was a beginning. Invention of assembly line changed everything. Products became cheaper, reliable quality, and reliable quantities. If we look backwards on how software is being built for the last 40 years, you have an idea. You got 50 engineers and designers and product managers, and for the next 2 years, they're building a product. Well, you're lucky enough, you get product market fit, and you get the company, billion-dollar company, right? Not in many cases, but that's the process. And everyone is taking it for granted. That's how it is. But if we look back 120 years ago, how cars, for example, been built, they were all custom, very expensive, unreliable because every car was a custom built. Then Henry Ford invented assembly line. And basically what they took, an engine was going on assembly line, and the special people, trained people, were taking pre-manufactured components. Every component was a known quality, no custom build, and assembling the car. In 4 hours, you can have a car with a reliable quality and reliable quantity. And the price went down 10 times, and people could afford it. That made an impact on everything else. Roads, people, transportation, gas, everything changed. So right now we're in a point where industry, the software industry, is going to be changed. We don't know it yet, but we were preparing for that. We didn't know what the engine would be. We had an idea that would be a model. That's why we're building our models at the beginning. But then this explosion of LLMs gave us so much more powerful tools, and we already had all the components built around it. So think of this. We can build a generative AI application for enterprise, like Fortune 1000 clients, in under 8 weeks, a new one. Because we take LLM and move it as an engine or set of LLMs, some ours, some open source, moving along that assembly line, and our people assembling the application along the way. In under 8 weeks, you get an application that in the old world would be $1 billion company on its own. It would take 2 years to build and $5 million to be invested. Mm-hmm. So that's how we, in a matter of 6 months, last 6 months, grew from 3 applications to 8, and we're adding more and more. And each application is reusable across every other client. And that's the concept that everyone is going to be using from now, like probably a year or two away, but that's going to be how the software is being built from now on. Long time's gone where it's custom, expensive, and really hard to
I think it's super powerful concept of assembly line for software. And I think LLMs made it possible because now algorithms understand language, and language is a universal connector to anything human built. So you're riding a really good wave.
I've just read that like 90% of the companies, software companies, planning to release new AI feature, like this year, maximum next year, but only a third of them are planning to hire new people because they don't need any new people with all LLMs.
Yeah.
So what are the 8 apps that you currently sell?
So we focus on, let's go top down. So we focus on 2 specific parameters for whatever we are addressing. Number one is high precision AI applications. I'll give an example of what it is. And second parameter, like we have 2 circles overlapping. One would be high precision AI applications and the data heavy processes. So high precision means there is no room for hallucination, literally zero tolerance. And for example, some of our applications are processing hundreds of millions of dollars each week for our clients. Imagine there is a hallucination. Instead of $1 million, you send $10 million to someone. Like, it's not going to work. So high precision. And data heavy processes where a lot of data involved or a lot of manual work is involved. If it's a very expensive process but happens once a year, that's not us. Or another example, if you have an AI company that creates marketing emails, which is great business, but no one cares about the quality. It's like 60%, 70%, 80%, because people still going to be rewriting those. It just enables something. There is no need for 100% quality of marketing email or a blog post, right? So it's not us. We focus on those particular processes that require absolute quality of AI application and a lot of data involved.
Better than people, right?
Better than people. People are 87, 90% at best.
We once received 20 mil instead of 2 mil in our startup.
Nice. Did you give it back?
We had to, like, we asked, like, what should we do? And they said, like, just give us more shares. And we're like, but that's 60% of our company.
Was it on purpose? They might be like, okay,
Yeah,
I
let's
think
send
so.
these guys 20 million and see if they accept it.
Looks
Yeah.
like it was on purpose, but it was so hard to send it back.
Looking back, we should have gave them more shares. But yeah, so it's I understand that AI is held to a much higher standard than people. Computers are
Yes.
held to much. How do you achieve this?
So there is no silver bullet. There is a set of silver bullets. It's basically the whole machine gun of silver bullets you need to use. Because with the traditional large language models, especially truly large models like 200 billion parameters plus, they are trained on everything. And they are wide as ocean, deep as a puddle. So they can take your P&L and turn it into Shakespeare-style poem. Would you care about it? Probably not, but they still can. What we do, we specialize our applications. If it's a vertically oriented application, best in class, for example, we have an applications for private equity notices processing. It does capital calls, distributions, NAVs, invoice processing, better than humans. And it's specifically trained on specific data. It's connected to the data of the client. It's inside security perimeter, so it's a ground truth, and it can be verified and checked. We have special models that supervise other models. So it's checks and balances, and there are parameters of confidence and quality. So if model that does the job says, hey, here's the quality, I think it's 95%, and the model that supervises that model says, wait a second, I have low confidence in what you just said because I checked it with the ground truth. So, and that's how you operate with it. And there are so many other parameters. It's like thinking about what ensures the safety and security of a car. Just can't point one thing. Of course, that brakes, but also airbags and electric wires and lidars, radars, and everything. Right?
Overall quality of the assembly.
Exactly. Assembly, yeah. Your wheels can fall off, right? Yeah. No brakes will help if the wheels. So that's how you ensure that highest possible quality. It's really, really hard to achieve. And there is a term for that. It's called last mile of AI quality. It's so easy to prototype with GPT-4. Do anything you want at 65% quality.
I call this Twitter demos. Work amazing on Twitter.
Exactly. But I would compare it with like what we are right now with the dawn of aviation. See, I have a lot of analogies with manufacturing. I don't know why, but it's basically historically proven. So we are at the dawn of aviation of AI right now. It's like brothers ride first flight, we're in the air, plane is made out of dried sheet paper and duct tape, 300 yards flying, amazing. Enterprise clients need Boeing 777. They need everything around infrastructure in the airport and the cocktails in the first class because they can't buy the paper plane. It just doesn't work this way. And it also can be seen as like, we've got, as an industry, we've got a magic wand. In 50% of the time, when you use the magic wand, it can turn yourself into a frog. So, and there would be these steps taken by the industry of those components and assembly lines, and companies are going to be adopting this approach because there is no other way they can build it scalably with predictable quality and predictable price. So in the next 3 years, everything is going to change. We just don't know how much it will impact the whole industry, but it will.
So what you're saying basically translates for the new founders listening us out there is we are so sophisticated that there's no way you can do it now. You had to do it for the last 6 years to be on the same page.
Actually, opposite.
How do you get to this point if you're starting now?
Opposite. Actually, I think right now is the right time to get things the right way, because large organizations like Salesforce of the world, Oracles of the world, they have this old process so engraved into the nature of this, it's part of their DNA. They would never be able to adopt this assembly line type of concept. They're still going to be doing things the old way because there are like 100,000 people and you can't change the processes this way. But assembly line, actually, it's a concept. Yes, we've been building it for 4 years and build all 200 components so we can do things faster now and cheaper and better. But we are serving specific industry. There are so many other industries. What I think startups will do better, and it's a beautiful moment for them to actually take on those large organizations, adopt the new way of building things. and build your own components. It doesn't require building everything from scratch. We did it because it didn't exist back then. Take LangChain, take this, take that, put it together and build it the new way. Scalable, predictable, and reliable. And that's it. So it's amazing time we're living in. It's the whole paradigm of how software is being built is going to be changed.
So the 8 apps you've designed for your clients. So what do they do other than summarizing emails?
Oh, no, they're not summarizing emails anymore. It's probably one of the feature in one of the applications somewhere off the shelf, right? So every application of ours is focused on 3 steps. And those steps, they are engraved into every business process of every organization in the world, starting from healthcare and going to, I don't know, banks. We focus on professional services like financial services, legal, accounting, and consulting. That's our area of expertise. But those 3 steps are data verification. I'll explain what it is. Then data extraction, data verification, and then data transformation. So those are 3 main components. And I'll bring example of one of the applications, how it does that. So let's say you have an invoice and or hundreds of invoices, or sometimes hundreds of thousands of invoices. A lot of organizations operate with a much bigger scale of data. And then you have contracts. And those invoices, before you send it to a client, they have to be verified according to the contract. And a contract is not a simple thing. It might be 100 pages of a contract. I've seen those. And there might be 20 or 30 amendments. Sometimes amendments contradict itself. Their calculation, how you calculate price, discounts, it's incredibly complicated. No human actually can take an invoice or stream of invoices and check those invoices against those contracts. It's impossible. So companies being fined for sending something that shouldn't be sent, they underprice, they overpay, and so on and so forth. So one of our solutions, what it takes, it's called policy enforcement, one of the apps. It consumes all of those contracts, like literally hundreds of thousands, whatever you have of contracts, understands them, there's a special model for that, extracts the rules, basically digitize them, basically make them programmable. You have those rules, and then another model inside the same application applies those rules to those contracts, those invoices, saying, hey, wait a second, wrong here, wrong here, wrong here, and then it transforms it. The 3rd step, it says, this is wrong, but it should be this. Can I do that? And in many cases, it might be fully automatic, no humans involved. In many cases, just one operator just looking through that saying, okay, agree, 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 agree. That also creates the reinforcement learning data, which gets back to the model, making it even better and faster and so on and so forth. That's an example. This is $1 billion problem for Fortune 1000, each Fortune 1000 organization. Another example, healthcare. You have medical bills and you have guidelines how to calculate the medical bills. Everyone knows that if you get a bill from a hospital,
we know.
Everyone, it's like no need to in this case, everything can be verified and fixed. And that's where AI is the only way to do that. Because if you want to do it manually, you have to employ army of people, and there will be still like 85% quality, where AI can achieve 95 plus.
Qualified people too.
Qualified, yep. And you have to train them, then you have to retain them. It's a big problem. Yeah, motivate. So there are multiple applications, 8, but they all focus on these 3 things. Comparing something to something, like data, in big quantities, identifying problems, and then fixing those problems. And if you look at any business process, it's 3 fundamental steps of every business process for any organization in any industry.
And if it's large enough, then they can get enough ROI to pay you a $300K per year.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm guessing there's a lot of companies that have a lot of large processes in this world.
Yep. One of our clients, actually, an insurance broker, they have a process that costs them $3 billion a year. And one of our applications just solves the problem completely on the ground level. So this problem doesn't exist anymore. It's gone.
That's incredible. How many competitors do they have that also have this $3 billion problem?
I would say there are companies that do parts of these 3 things, some of them manually, some of them half manually, but no one still is doing end-to-end. All 3 things from the beginning till that, completely augmenting the process. But there will be. definitely will be. It's such a big piece of a pie for every industry. So there would be, but right now no one is doing it completely end to end.
So speaking about your company now, so what does it really consist of in terms of people?
We're about 110, about 60% engineers, and the rest is GTM and GA. So we have 3 main offices. Silicon Valley here, about 15 people now here. Canada, that's a customer office, Toronto. And second biggest office is Armenia, Yerevan. We also have people in Germany, Poland, and Ukraine.
Cool. So what do they do other than 60% of engineers?
So right now, starting December last year, I would say probably November, that's such a big tailwind, especially with AI. And it's so funny, in every large organization, what happens is that the board, even in the Fortune 1000, the board looks at CEO on the board meeting and saying, what are we doing about AI? And CEO is like, what are we doing about AI? Okay, I'll reply next board meeting. So the CEO goes to the CTO or VP level saying, guys, what are we doing about AI? And these guys are, what are we doing about AI? And they go down to level of director saying, guys, I don't care what you do, but we need to do something about AI because in 4 months I need to report back what our initiatives are. So, and these guys actually who are in the trenches, they go to try prototyping things. You've said that right. Twitter prototypes. They're like, okay, we have that problem we'll never be able to solve before. Let's use GPT-4 API, and we have smart engineers. They try, and like, damn, 65% quality. So they can actually go to CEO saying, yeah, we did, it works, because then the board says, well, let's implement it, how it affects our bottom line. And there's a lot of risks. And there is a whole new problem right now, the board responsibility for AI. Like if the data leaks, if AI does something wrong, board members, they have the fiduciary duty, they have responsibilities. And they're actually not comfortable using something that is 60, 70, 80% quality. And in this case, those clients, actually what they do, many of them come to us. So just in the last 6 months, our pipeline with the Fortune 1000 companies grew probably 1,000%, probably even more, and it's growing like crazy. Because they prototype something, it's not yet there, but the top is demanding something. And they're trying to find companies that are doing specific things and can ensure that the quality
is there. So
is
you're
there.
mostly working with inbounds at
Yes.
this point.
Yes.
How did they find you? Like
referred by clients. They sometimes see podcasts like this, industry related, because they all like always industry focused. Also, it's though it looks like insurance, for example, a big industry. Actually, there are probably 20 biggest players, and they all talk between themselves, right? And they know about things, and they share information. So we're growing in terms of inbound dramatically, but it's also important to separate who you want to work with and who you don't want to work with. And not because they are bad companies, no, they're all good clients, potential clients, but it's about use cases. You want to narrow down, you want to keep focused both on an industry you want to work with and with the products you either already can deliver off the shelf or it will require less time to assemble.
So you're now past product market fit,
Yes.
and you know exactly what works. So you're like laser focused on just doing the same thing over and over and over again. Until what time? Like what's the limit? When are you going to start adding stuff?
We're adding stuff, but we're adding stuff very carefully. Because it's when you have something like Hercules, our engine, and you can easily add whatever you want, you lose discipline. It's like, hey, let's do this. And it's very important to say no more than yes. Because the sales team comes in saying, hey, there is an amazing client came in, they have $1 billion problem, let's do it right now. I'm like, look at the pipeline. You need to deliver to this client and this client and that client. And this client, they just been pitching to product engineering. They are a different industry. They are outside of our focus. And the product, well, requires slight modifications. And also, will other clients use that application? It's always a balance. If it's a custom build, we would never touch it. It should get back to the app store of ours, like App Center, and we can resell it to every other client of ours. That's the flywheel, how we grow inside with the same clients. rather than getting new clients faster. So it's much more important focus on that.
So your GTM team has people who are in charge of top of the funnel. Do you have SDRs or?
We don't actually need SDRs. We have yes, we have AEs, but those more of a they wear two hats. They wear the traditional AE, account executive hat, but also consulting hat, because they know the client comes in saying, "Hey, we have that problem," and our AEs need to dig in and help client on the first meeting.
Do you hire them from consulting?
Deloitte, KPMGs of the world. I love these guys. These guys are trained to spot the problem, unfold it, and present to a client the way the client can consume it, saying, "Oh my God, why we were not doing anything about it," right?
They're also good at travel and living off hotel minibars.
Yeah, no one is doing it this way right now. It's all remote. But it's a very important quality of helping clients not just get the ROI delivered, but in the first step, understand what the ROI would be and how deep the rabbit hole is. And once the client understands, and also it affects the sales cycle, which is incredible. Typical sales cycle in enterprise is like what, 8 months, 12 months, Fortune 1000?
Yeah.
How about 2
12.
months? 2 months.
2 months. That is what bought me, honestly, when we talked and we decided that we want to invest. That was the 2 month cycle.
And you know why it happens this way? Because
assembly line.
Exactly. Client comes in, and first meeting we basically deconstruct the problem they have. And typically it's I call it X in the back problem, X stuck in the back rather than patch on a scratch on the knee. It's bleeding, it's painful. What we need to deconstruct it to understand what the client exactly needs. Then we tell clients, "Hey guys, give us examples, like 5 documents, 5 examples. We don't need more. That consists part of that process, like might be contracts, invoices, whatever process you have. It's always about documents. Give us the data, 5 examples. Of course, we sign NDA. In 2 weeks, we meet and we'll show you the working product." We take that data, basically put the LLM on the assembly line, go it through, replace some components needed for these guys, but the product is basically off the shelf, 95%. Train the model on that particular 5 examples, because we have a model that generates hundreds of thousands of synthetic data. We fine-tune the model, and next meeting in 2 weeks, we show them working solution, and we say, "Now upload your documents." It blows their mind away, because they were expecting to keep talking and talking for months and kind of trying to understand things. And then it's like, "Okay, send us
But that's
a
the
contract."
same product that is going to be implemented.
Yes, exactly.
That is very impressive.
But it's on our side yet. So we show them the product that's on our side. We just give them access to play with it, but it's already working product for them. And then the second question they ask, how we can get it inside our security perimeter. Here's the contract, sign it, and in 4 weeks, it's going to be there. So it takes time to get through security checks. But again, because we're on-prem, on-site the security perimeter, CISOs and IT loves us. No data is being sent outside. So we pass security audit in 1 day. Then the procurement, 3-4 days. Pricing is clear. No volume based. Procurement doesn't have to scratch their head how much it will cost next year. It's always $300,000 per application per year. So procurement signs it quickly, and we get into deployment with the clients. And we build the flywheel to repeat that process. There are still wrinkles, of course. Some clients are different, especially when you work with Fortune 1000. But in general, 90% it's the same process.
That is very impressive. In our startup, we had a platform for pilots that we would upload their video and produce results within 1 day. Our KPI was like 1 day. But that was a different platform from our actual product because it had lower accuracy, it could not be deployed on-prem. That is really impressive that you're like actually doing the product using the assembly line approach.
If you like with all your experience, what you built already, if you look back,
You're
in 2017.
Yeah. So what
would you do differently?
Such a loaded question. There's so many things I would do differently. But one, I would actually accelerate the Hercules creation, because it was been always done on okay, let's spend 30% of the time on building this fundamental things and 70% of the time on building, like serving clients, building new features. I would actually reverse that. Because now, like, we would probably get there 2 years earlier at the stage where Hercules can function as an assembly line.
Were you sure about your PMF back then to be able to invest resources?
Absolutely not. Like, I would say at that time we were sure about the PMF of the small beachhead market we worked on. Because once you get 5 largest law firms in the world as clients, you know you're doing things right. Because if these guys buy, you absolutely found the product market fit. What I was not sure about is how we can jump. I knew that we will, but I was not sure about all the characteristics of how we will jump from this beachhead, basically from early majority of legal market to the later majority or majority of bigger markets like insurance, consulting, financial services. That was not clear. And we managed to do that only because we had Hercules. So it was like, I wish we invested more into it earlier, but at the end, it was right on time. And interestingly, actually, it was right on time. Hercules was ready probably mid last year, but it lacked LLMs, a variety of LLMs. We had our models, like our largest model was at that time close to 1 billion parameter based on BERT. But we lacked the variety, the community of LLMs. And then it's exploded and Hugging Face. Now you can go and take all the open source models. And we got the variety of motors around which we can build this AI applications and move them faster on assembly line. So I would say even if we build it earlier, we will probably grab more market sooner. But overall, this explosion of generative AI gave us enough fuel to build those new applications.
So you're now on the exponential curve. And
looks like it is.
It's probably, you're going to be scaling everything, hiring more people. What are they going to do the next 100 people you're going to hire?
Well, the same analogy. There are 2 ways of doing things, intensive and extensive. So in the case you have all those tools and all the prerequisites and components, you don't actually have to hire that many people, especially on assembly line, because you already have everything automated. So you automate your own processes and your own app creation. So we definitely will hire next 100 people. I just don't know what the time frame would be, but those are mostly going to be customer support, GTM, salespeople, marketing, because that's where you scale. And of course, engineers, but engineers more on a quality side because it's going to be more R&D. What's next? Remember, we always try to think 5 years ahead. So what is going to look like? How it will going to look like post LLM or next level, 2 years, 3 years from now? We need to start preparing right now.
So you're finally at the point where it pays off to start your own like R&D on.
We've always been doing R&D, but that would be more of an R&D of futuristic, like what next? What next gonna be? Let's experiment. Let's start trying to look beyond the horizon. And startups, even at the very beginning of the life cycle, should do that, even if it's just in the head instead of building code, because sometimes they can't afford spending money on that. But it should be in the plans or trying to do this imaginary work, like what if?
There's always this risk of being too early. Some say that being early is worse than being wrong.
Yes, of course. It's better to be in the right place and the right time.
That's true.
But you can only say that afterwards.
Yes, it's retrospective. It's never goes into the future.
Yeah, I want to ask, like, when did you start your fundraising process? So, what you started your company? How long?
We got the first check actually probably a couple of days after we started the company. I was friends and family. We got like $100,000 check. We didn't even have a company yet at that time. It was like blank check with 100,000 written on it. Like, okay, register the company, put the name in. So that's how it started. And then, of course, we went through traditional process of seed rounds. We closed a round last year. We started a new round recently. So it's very traditional.
So another question that we asked a few, we asked our audience on LinkedIn and Instagram to ask a few questions. And one of the questions was, do you really need domain expertise? And it doesn't seem that you had any expertise in like how LLMs in this case, or ILMs worked, international law firms, ILFs, yes.
Yeah, I would say, I will reply with a joke. Don't trust professional, they build Titanic. Trust amateur, they build the Noah's Ark.
Oh, yeah.
So I would say expertise is required. The team has to have expertise, absolutely. You have to have people who understand nitty-gritty pieces of how specific industry works. But having people on the team who are actually open-minded and they put everything under question, who do not have that engraved knowledge of the industry might be very, very helpful, because you've heard that many times. It's been done this way for many years, so no one is going to be changing it. But if you say, why? Why no one wants to change it? Is it the process problem? Is it a product problem? Is it a technology problem, or something else? And if you start asking those questions and start drilling in beyond this kind of a common truth, like everyone is doing it this way, everyone is driving horse to work, like should we have a car, not a faster horse? So that type of mentality, there always should be people in the team, and they have to have a voice. They have to be able to articulate it and say, hey, everyone is doing it this way, but why not we try it differently? And that's where the best products and technologies are being born, actually.
Mm-hmm. So designing this assembly line, how did you come up with the concept of we gotta have an engine and then like we have standardized building blocks for everything?
We started eating our own dog food. It was hard to build new applications, painful, taking like a year to build a new application. And we wanted to optimize. It's like, wait a second, we already have 2 applications. We're building third. Why don't we reuse some blocks from those here? And we started doing it, and then it grew into like, wait a second, we are like 50% are using reusable blocks of our own, and there are new technologies appears. Oh, how about we use this? Brought it in. It's not all of it built by us. There like probably 30% are available on the market. It's just to connect them the right way. And then we realized like this is a better way, because you see time building the application shrinks dramatically. Instead of year, it can be done in 4 weeks, 8 weeks, and it's incredible ROI, because the same team can build 100 times more. It was obvious at some point, but not at the very beginning.
Yeah, I also want to ask about the culture. So you touched like a little bit about it. It's very important to give voice to people who are questioning and who are curious. How are you doing this? Are you at this building your culture? Do you have like specific meetings?
Yes, actually, well, I don't believe in culture that's written on a postcard and put on the wall. It's like bullshit, right? Culture.
What about the conjuncting triangles of success? This is such a strong concept.
I think the best way was explained it in the Ben Horowitz book. What you do is who you are, right? And it's basically part of how you do things. And you know what our value number 1? Courage. Literally. And we evaluate people by, are they courageous enough to do crazy shit that no one believed possible? If they are, if they question things, and you can see it even in an interview. A person is not afraid. Like people come to interview and they're shy and they just like, okay, CEO is interviewing me. If the person says, why are you doing this and why are you doing that, and ask questions, and you see they are not shy, they will do bold moves. And that's the number 1 we're looking for. Because to build something like this that no one else built before, and every startup does this way, and they are looking typically for expertise and like ability to work, like historical experience and working in a large companies, I would say it's all bullshit. So number 2 is attitude. We never hire for experience alone. We hire for attitude. You can teach experience. You can teach something. You cannot teach attitude. If the person is hardworking, putting everything under question, and wants to drive things, that's the person we're looking for. And if the person, I made mistakes. I hired people, so Salesforce and Microsoft, and oh my God, there was like, I still have scars on my back. Never again. So value number one is courage. Ability to make decisions, make bold moves, and see if it works.
Thank you so much for coming and joining us. And we hope that this podcast is going to become something more. We're still early stage. We're still looking for product market fit. And hopefully this iteration is something that people won't find complete bullshit. Maybe we'll get some suggestions based on what we talked about today. So thank you so much again for making this possible.
Thank you. My pleasure.
And we'll try to be courage and curious to make it forward.
Yeah.